Hi guys, you're live with Gloryfall. My name's Toby Hyson, and today I'm going to talk about something that I entitled Help. I'm a worship leader and I've forgotten how to worship. One of the deepest dangers of a worship leader is that with all the practice, the programs, and the quote unquote performance that we have to do, it's easy to lose sight of what true worship is. We can get caught into the work, to the practice routines, and just everything involved worrying about leading worship that we forget to really worship. So there are several things that can sweep us away into a busy cycle to where one day we might realize that we haven't been worshiping and we don't really know how to worship anymore. For now, I don't want to talk about those things that will sweep us away. I want to focus on how do we get back. I want to look at 4 different ideas on how to refocus or rekindle your worship. So the first thing that I want to talk about is secret worship. So having our personal times of worship, our devotion times, our Bible reading, and everything like that, that's so important. I want to take Jesus' example found in Luke 5:16, Matthew 14:23, and Luke 6:12. All of those are where Jesus withdrew himself to a private place. Some it would be up on the mountain, some in the wilderness, but it was a private place where he prayed, a time where he could worship the Lord and be rejuvenated, where he could be in the presence of God. And so the secret time of worship is very important. We want to make sure that we do that as our first step, is just get back into the presence of God by ourselves, not worrying about leading worship, but just worshiping on our own. The second tip would be let worship get into every area of your life. This means when you're at home, you need to have times of worship with your family, having family devotions, times of singing, times with your kid, times with your spouse, where you let that heart of worship and the practice of worship get into your family. Same thing at work, where you take time to pray, where you let it be an atmosphere of worship. Romans 12:1 says, "Therefore I urge you, brothers, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship." It's really talking about a lifestyle that everything we do, everything with that we do with our body should be some worship unto the Lord. So letting it get into everything. Colossians 3:23, "Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, not for human masters." So then everything we do, it should be unto the Lord. That is worship. So we should make our intention at work, our intention in the family, in our marriage, everything to include God, to include the heart of worship. And even going in as practical of taking times to pray when we're at those places. Pray for your employer, pray for your job, pray for the business that you're running in, and worship as well, to sing songs even while we're there, to let that heart of worship get into everything that we're doing. Even the same thing with our school, anything that you're facing, get it into every area of your life. The third thing that I want to encourage you to do, if you feel like you've forgotten how to worship, is let someone else lead you. Many times the hardest thing for a worship leader or worship musician is when you're not up on stage. You forget what you're supposed to do. You forget about singing. You forget about raising your hands. You forget about clapping. You forget about all these things that you're working to lead people to do for the Lord. And so when you're not up there on stage, we many times forget about all of that. We've forgotten about it and the meaning behind it and the heart behind it. So the first thing that we can do is let a hunger grow inside us, that it doesn't matter who's leading worship, that we're going to really worship the Lord with all our heart, mind, and soul, just totally abandoned to him. And as we let someone else lead us, it builds us up to a point to where we get to the point where we're comfortable not being up on stage anymore and still pouring out our heart before the Lord and giving him our all in worship. The last thing, the fourth point, is just simplify your worship leading. If you've forgotten how to worship because you're focused on worship leading, simplify it. Sometimes the music and the technical aspects can get in the way of our being able to worship when we're on stage. So if we take a step back musically and just use simple songs and ones that we're very familiar with, that we won't worry about the chord progression or what the words are because we know them, just to get get refocusing, get the foundation back, and then slowly build up the musical excellence and the technical aspects again. Don't let the technical things get in the way of your worship. Make sure if it's getting in the way, pull back a little bit and then slowly build up so that when you're even leading worship, that you too can worship with all your heart, mind, and soul. So if you found yourself in a position where you've forgotten or you feel like you've forgotten what it is to really worship, try these things out. Also share with us some things that you do in order to help keep you focused and to help keep you worshiping and not getting caught up in the busyness of worship leading and the technical things of worship leading, so that you can really worship God with all your heart, mind, and soul. God bless you guys.